Have you ever been told that you're too sensitive, that you need to toughen up, or stop taking things so personally? What if I told you that your sensitivity isn't a weakness to overcome, but actually your greatest strength? My name is Anna from Flow and Purpose, and today we'll be exploring what it really means to be a highly sensitive person. How to recognize if you are one, and most importantly, how to transform this trait from what might feel like a burden to one of your most powerful gifts. As someone who spent years navigating life as a highly sensitive person myself, I understand the challenges that come with processing the world more deeply than others. That feeling when a shop or a conference center is too loud or the lights are too bright, or in a disagreement that the emotions become overwhelming. I've been there. And I've discovered that our sensitivity holds incredible wisdom when we learn to embrace it. Today we'll explore what high sensitivity actually is, identify the key traits, and discover how to transform your relationship with this beautiful part of yourself. High sensitivity is a genetic trait which was first researched and named by the psychologist Dr. Elaine Aron in the 1990s. It's not something that you develop, you're born with it. Scientifically, it's called sensory processing sensitivity, and it affects about 20% of the population. That means it's not rare, but you're definitely in the minority, which explains why you might sometimes feel misunderstood. Dr. Aron created a very helpful framework called DOES to understand the key aspects of high sensitivity. So D stands for depth of processing. HSPs process information more thoroughly and make deeper connections between ideas. O is for overstimulation, because you're taking in so much information and processing it deeply, you can become overwhelmed more easily. And E represents emotional responsiveness and empathy. HSPs feel emotions more intensely and often sense what others are feeling. And S is for sensitivity to subtle stimuli. So you notice details and nuances that might be missed by others completely. From an evolutionary perspective, this trait has existed throughout human history. In any group, it's beneficial to have some members who are more cautious before acting, who are observant and thoughtful. So HSPs are just the look before you leap members of our species. So let's explore some specific signs that you might be a highly sensitive person. As I share these, notice which one resonates with your own experience. First, you notice subtle details others might miss. Maybe you're the first to detect a change in someone's mood, or you notice the scent of a flowering tree as you and your colleagues pass by it. Or perhaps you're distracted by the subtle hum of an electric light that no one else seems to notice. I often experience and see subtle changes in people's emotions that others simply miss. And this attention to detail can be a beautiful gift, allowing us to appreciate the richness of the world. Second, you feel emotions, both your own and others, more intensely. A moving film may move you to tears, or you might absorb the feelings in a room before anyone has said a word. And this emotional depth allows for profound connection and compassion, though it can sometimes feel overwhelming when it's not properly understood and handled. And third, you may become easily overwhelmed in a chaotic environment. Crowded spaces or loud noises and bright lights, multiple conversations happening at the same time can quickly drain you of your energy. So your nervous system is processing all of these stimuli more thoroughly, and this requires more energy and can make you feel depleted. Fourth, you require more alone time to process and to recharge. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're an introvert. About 30% of HSPs are actually extroverts. What it does mean is that you need the space to integrate your experiences. And this reflection time is essential for your well-being and allows you to access the deeper insights that come from your processing style. Fifth, you think deeply before making decisions, and you consider multiple angles or potential outcomes. And this could lead to overthinking, but it often results in wiser choices. So this thoughtfulness is a strength, allowing you to make more considered decisions. And sixth, you have a vivid imagination and a rich inner world. Your mind naturally creates connections and explores possibilities. You have enormous strengths of creativity and insight. This inner richness can be channeled into art or problem solving or any other creative activity. And seventh, the feedback or criticism can affect you more deeply. A casual comment that might roll off someone else's back can stay with you for days. This sensitivity to feedback comes to a large degree from your depth of processing and actually makes you more conscientious in your work and in relationships, which again is another strength. And eighth, you can sense what others need sometimes before they know it themselves. This intuitive understanding comes from your ability to notice subtle cues and from your natural empathetic disposition. So this empathic gift allows you to be very supportive and understanding in your relationships. If several of these signs resonated with you, you might indeed be a highly sensitive person. And that's something to celebrate and not to hide. I'd like to share a personal experience that might help to illustrate what it means like to live life as a highly sensitive person. For years, I struggled with feeling overwhelmed in situations that seemed easy for other people. I remember attending a conference, and by lunchtime of the first day, I was completely drained. The constant noise and the bright lights, the social interactions in a very echoey environment were extremely draining, and I found myself seeking refuge in the garden of the venue. And I felt quite disappointed in myself. Why couldn't I handle this that everyone else seemed to handle effortlessly? But shortly after, I discovered Dr. Aron's research on high sensitivity. And I realized I wasn't broken. My nervous system was simply processing more information and more deeply than those around me. And instead of fighting against this high sensitivity, I began to work with it. I started taking short breaks during conferences, stepping outside for fresh air, and just honoring my need for extra processing time. But the true transformation wasn't how I managed my environment. It was more how I viewed myself. What I once saw as a weakness became one of my greatest strengths. So my sensitivity allows me to notice nuances in conversations and create meaningful connections and bring a level of care to my work that comes from this natural attunement. So Before we explore the gifts of sensitivity further, let's clear up some common misconceptions about being highly sensitive. First, high sensitivity is not a disorder. It's a normal genetic trait that exists on a spectrum, just like height. So it's not something to be cured or to be fixed. Second, being highly sensitive is not the same as being introverted. As I said, while many HSPs are introverts, about 30% are actually extroverts who enjoy social connection and still process deeply and can become overstimulated. And third, sensitivity is not a weakness. Our culture often portrays sensitivity as something to be overcome. But this trait has survived throughout human evolution because it serves an important purpose. So every community needs both action-oriented members and more reflective and more cautious members, maybe. And fourth, high sensitivity is not just about emotions. Whilst emotional depth is one aspect, this trait affects all forms of processing. So from physical sensations to aesthetic appreciation and also complex thinking. So understanding these distinctions helps us to recognize and to honor the sensitivity for what it truly is. A complex and valuable way of experiencing and engaging with the world. So now let's explore what I believe is the most important part of understanding high sensitivity. Recognizing its profound gifts. So first is your depth of understanding. As an HSP, you naturally see layers and connections that perhaps others might miss. You notice patterns and implications and meanings that create a richer understanding of situations. And this depth allows you to bring nuance to conversations and considerations that might otherwise be overlooked. Second is your empathic connection, your ability to sense into other people's needs and feelings creates the potential for profound relationships and understanding. This empathy is a precious gift in a world that often moves too quickly to notice the human experience beneath the surface. And third, it's your creativity and insight. Your rich inner world and the ability to make unusual connections fuels creative thinking and problem solving, innovation. I believe that many of the world's artists and writers and thinkers, great innovators, were likely highly sensitive people who channeled their deep processing into creative expression. And fourth is your conscientiousness. Your thoughtful approach naturally leads to careful and quality work. So this thoroughness is an invaluable gift in any context where the attention to detail is paramount. So the fifth thing I want you to consider is your appreciation of beauty. You experience joy in subtle beauty that others might overlook. The quality of the light in the sunset, or the texture of a fabric, or just the beauty in a piece of music. This capacity for appreciation brings richness to your life, and you can share that with others, so to make them see the beauty around them even more. These gifts are not separate from your sensitivity. They're your sensitivity expressed in its healthiest form. So how do we transform our relationship with sensitivity from something that feels like a burden to our greatest strength? First, I would suggest practicing reframing. So instead of saying, I'm too sensitive. Try, I process deeply. And instead of I'm easily overwhelmed, try, I notice details others miss. This isn't just positive thinking, it's just accurately describing your experience in a way that honors its value. Second is to create healthy boundaries. Recognize that protecting your own energy isn't selfish. It's necessary for you to be able to bring your gifts to the world. And this might mean taking breaks during intense events, or avoiding environments that drain you, or creating a safe space at home where you can just recharge. And third, develop a self-compassion practice, treating your sensitivity with kindness rather than with judgment. This would create space for it to become a strength. When you feel overwhelmed, just try placing a hand on your heart and saying, my sensitivity is a blessing, and I protect it. I allow myself to feel deeply, but also to take time to recharge. May I be kind to myself in this moment. Or words to that effect, something that would acknowledge and nurture your own sensitivity. And fourth, design your environment to honor your sensitivity needs. And this might mean that you use noise-cancelling headphones when it's needed, or creating a really calming workspace, and just allowing yourself to process and integrate your experience. Just small adjustments can make a huge difference in how you experience your sensitivity day to day. So remember, the goal isn't to become less sensitive, it's to become more skilled at working with your sensitivity, so its gifts can shine through you. I'd like to invite you to reflect on a question. How might your sensitivity be actually serving you? Where in your life is this trait already showing up as a strength? I'd love to hear from you on your insights in the comments below. Just share one way your sensitivity has been a strength in your life. And so your experience might help someone else recognize the value of their own sensitivity. In my next video, we'll explore specific techniques for managing overwhelm as a sensitive person. So be sure to subscribe if you'd like to continue this journey together. And remember, your sensitivity isn't a weakness to overcome, but it's a strength. Thank you for watching.